Exposed, terrifying secrets behind 137 mysterious disappearances in haunted national parks. Jennifer pulled onto the winding road leading into Cedar Hollow National Park, her heart racing with the thrill of escape and the gnawing anxiety of the rumors whispered in town. 137 disappearances, they said, voices trembling as they spoke of families consumed by the woods, swallowed whole without a trace. Laughter rose from the back seat, Emma's bright giggles mixing with Liam's excited chatter, both unaware of the dark shadows lurking just beyond their vision. The trees grew taller, twisting like skeletal fingers against the sky, casting eerie shadows across the pavement. A prickly scent of pine filled the air as they ventured deeper, the beauty of the wilderness a deceptive facade. Jennifer tried to shake off the cold shiver running down her spine, but the weight of gossip clawed at her throat. They set up camp, the cool night air wrapping around them, laughter dancing like flames in the crackling fire. For a moment, serenity overwhelmed the constant pressure of bills and single motherhood, yet, as darkness fell, the forest seemed to groan, whispers threading through the branches. Jennifer's skin prickled. She brushed aside the feeling, focusing instead on Emma's animated stories about fairies and forest creatures, but when Liam wandered off to fetch firewood, tension coiled tight in her stomach. "Just a minute, Mom." He called, but as minutes turned to silence, dread crept in. "Liam." Her voice trembled, panic rising as shadows lengthened. Emma's grip on her leg tightened, eyes wide with fear. "Mom, where's Liam?" She whispered, and with each heartbeat, Jennifer's pulse quickened. She called louder, the quiet of the surrounding woods now feeling foreboding, as if the trees themselves were listening. Shadows danced, twisting like phantoms that mocked her parental instincts. Desperately, she stumbled upon an old park ranger's journal, abandoned among the debris. With trembling hands, she flipped through the cursed pages, stories of lost souls, families dragged away into the void of the woods, warned to heed the unsettling whispers that haunted them at night. The more Jennifer read, the more she felt the forest close in around her, suffocating realization emerging from the chilling tales she had dismissed. Maybe this wasn't just a camping trip. Maybe they were encroaching onto forbidden ground. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A growl echoed through the night, a deep, primal sound that sliced through her resolve. Jennifer's breath hitched. "Liam!" She screamed, voice cracking with desperation as the whispering trees seemed to taunt her. Her heart pounded in a rhythm of pure terror as the local ranger appeared, his face a mask of polite concern but coldness lurking in his eyes. He dismissed her calls for help, his steely demeanor raising alarm bells in her head. As the night wore on, the oppressive darkness bore down, suffocating her hope. Then, through the trees, something moved quick and familiar. Her heart raced as she squinted into the murky depths of the forest. Was it him? Was it something worse? The air grew thick with tension, shadows reaching out like icy fingers, and Jennifer felt the stories seep into her very bones. With the stakes rising, she had to find Liam, uncover the truth hidden in the depths of the haunting woods, or risk losing everything as the darkness closed in around them. Are they truly alone in this haunted expanse? Liam. Jennifer's voice pierced through the darkness, desperation tinged with fear. Panic clawed at her throat as she took a hesitant step toward the flickering shadows. Every shadow seemed alive, every rustling leaf felt like a warning. Emma whimpered, her little face pale against the flickering firelight. "Mom, I'm scared," she said, clutching the blanket around her. Jennifer's heart ached at her daughter's innocence, terrified that the forest would claim them too. "Stay close, sweetheart. I'll be right back," she promised, forcing confidence into her shaky voice. She stepped into the inky blackness beyond the campsite, the familiar sounds of the forest distorted into something sinister. Each snap of a twig underfoot made her jump, her pulse racing, drowning out the call of reason. "Liam!" She shouted again, stepping deeper into the shadows, cold air wrapping around her like claws. Suddenly, a flash of movement darted past her periphery, unseen yet undeniable. A shiver coursed down her spine. She steadied herself, her breath coming in quick gasps. "Is that you?" she called, voice trembling. The only response was the mocking silence of the woods, a deafening void that swallowed her words whole. As she moved further, her flashlight beam caught something pale, like a glimpse of skin barely visible amongst the tangled underbrush. She rushed closer, heart hammering in her chest. But it was only a bone, weathered and yellowing, half buried in the dirt. A heaviness settled in her gut, the enormity of the forest's past pressing against her. "Liam!" She screamed again, her voice cracking with urgency. The fear that had stayed at bay rushed in waves, overwhelming her senses. She gripped the flashlight tighter, casting frantic beams across the trees. The growl from moments ago echoed again, but this time it lingered, rumbling low and dangerous. A predatory sound. A thud reverberated close by a heavy footfall. Jennifer froze, her heart pounding violently against her ribs. Shadows shifted again, forming a grotesque outline against the twisted trunks, a body hidden just out of sight. "Mom!" A soft voice came from behind her, and Jennifer spun around, a mixture of relief and dread crashing over her like a tidal wave. It was Liam, his face smeared with dirt, eyes wide with terror. "Where are we?" "Oh, thank God!" She knelt, pulling him close, relief flooding her senses. But as she embraced him, a chilling realization settled and he looked as if he had seen something horrific. "Mom, I heard the whispers," he murmured, shaking slightly. "They told me to follow." His voice trailed off, eyes darting around as if expecting something to pounce from the trees. Jennifer's blood ran cold. Whispers? What did he mean? In that moment, the ranger's words echoed in her mind, warnings of the forest's dark side. Did the forest itself call to its victims? The trees loomed closer, shadows reaching for her and Liam like sinister hands reaching from the abyss. "Come on, we have to go." She tugged Liam's hand, but the ground trembled, the deep growl vibrating through her body again, louder and more insistent. Her skin prickled with instinct. You weren't meant to run from the darkness. With wide eyes, Liam turned back towards the forest. What if it comes for us? What if it takes us too? The night around them began to pulse with a low hum, the whispers growing louder, wrapping around their minds, enticing yet terrifying. Jennifer's heart raced in a chaotic rhythm. "We won't let it," she declared, pushing forward, desperate to escape, but the forest felt alive, shifting as though it was closing in, hungry for their fears. Then, a voice broke through the cacophony, deep, resonant, human. "Jennifer!" A shout tore through the night, pulling her from the grip of terror. It was the ranger. But was he a savior, or another predator? Before she could decide, Liam pulled her back. "Mom, look." From the depths of the trees, a figure emerged, steely eyes glinting in the moonlight. As he approached, dread washed over her again. She didn't recognize him. She grasped Liam tighter, fear solidifying into a primal instinct to flee. With darkness closing in and questions swirling in her mind, one thought pounded relentlessly: who was this stranger, and what did he want with her family? And in that eerie stillness, the forest held its breath, waiting. "Who are you?" Jennifer demanded, her voice just above a whisper, every instinct screaming for her to run. The man halted a few paces from them, the light from her flashlight catching the outline of his rugged face. He was dressed in the kind of worn, earth-toned clothing that blended with the shadows of the forest, a seasoned presence among the whispers. His expression was stern yet wrought with concern, eyes glimmering with something. Was it fear or knowledge? "My name is Tom," he replied, his voice low and gravelly. "I'm here to help." "Where's the ranger?" Liam interjected, pressing closer to Jennifer, the trembling in his voice breaking through her mounting panic. Tom glanced back toward the forest, his jaw tightening. The ranger's not coming. Not now. We need to move now. Why? What's out there? Jennifer felt her heart race anew, a primal dread creeping in. The way Tom spoke, as if he knew something she didn't, sent her fear spiraling. Trust me, he said, his voice cutting through the tension. If you had heard the whispers, you'd understand. They're calling for you, pulling you in. Whispers? Liam whispered, eyes darting into the darkness as if the shadows were about to swallow him whole. Like what I heard? Yes. They play on your fears, your desires. They're not just voices, they're temptation. Cold fear pricked at Jennifer's skin. She fought to steady her breath, pushing Liam behind her protectively. We won't listen. We won't give in. For your sake, I hope so, Tom said grimly, glancing nervously at the thickening shadows. We need to get far from here. Keep moving towards the river. It'll protect you from their reach. Jennifer struggled against the ache in her throat, grappling with the very real possibility that the man before them might be their only chance. And what about the ranger? What happened to him? I tried to warn him, but he didn't listen. The words came out in a rushing whisper, as if even saying them provoked the unseen forces lurking nearby. A sudden chill swept through the air, and the growl echoed again, now lingering with a disquieting hunger. Roots twisted like claws around their feet, an earthy invitation to stay rooted, to forever become part of the forest. In that moment, a light flickered in the distance, a warm glow, beckoning through the shroud of darkness. Look! A campfire! Liam pointed with wide eyes filled with innocent hope. No! Tom shouted, rugged voice firm. Don't go towards it. It's another trap. But the incredibly soft glow swirled deeper within Jennifer, pulling at some buried desire, the allure of safety, of warmth, of familiarity. Her feet felt heavy, cemented to the cold, unforgiving ground. Mom. Liam's voice was taut with confusion, a note of betrayal lacing his innocent question. Why can't we just go? And then the whispers crescendoed, sentient and swirling, intoxicatingly seductive, wrapping around her mind like a fog. It was as if the forest itself wanted to know her fears, to siphon off her confusion, luring them closer. A fresh wave of terror coursed through Jennifer, muscles tensing, mind racing. Suddenly, the struggle felt more than physical, it was a fight against the primal pull of the forest itself. Please, we have to leave, she said, clenching Tom's arm, eyes darting from the gentle flicker of the false fire to the unforgiving darkness from which they'd come. In that uncertain moment, the forest seemed to shift, shadows undulating like breath, whispering her name, promising answers, granting visions of what she longed to see. Tom stood resolute, a bulwark against the temptation, his eyes locked onto Jennifer's. You can't give in, Jennifer. If you do, you'll lose everything. But in her heart, a question formed, echoing the ever-growing whispers. What if everything they lost was not beyond the edges of this forest, but right here, buried deep within its tangled depths? And as the false campfire flickered brightly, it illuminated ghostly faces among the trees, faces she'd never seen, but which stirred a shiver of recognition. A new wave of dread surged, taking her breath away. She had to choose to flee or to confront the unknown, the secrets of the forest that threatened to consume them all. Would she abandon reason for the lure of hidden truths, or would she gather the strength to reclaim her family from the shadows? In that moment of decision, the whispers awaited her answer, waiting like predators in the silence of the night. Panic clawed at Jennifer's gut as Tom's words slammed into her like thunder. The whispers intensified, swirling around her, an echo of her inner turmoil. She glanced at Liam, finding his wide eyes searching for reassurance, but the light from the campfire flickered, casting ghostly shadows that danced across his innocent face. Liam, stay close to me, she said, forcing steadiness into her voice even as her heart thundered. She sensed an overwhelming weight in the air, thick like fog, urging her to take a step toward the glowing warmth. It promised safety but was laced with deception. Jennifer, Tom's voice broke through the fog, gripping her attention. We have to get away from here. Now. The urgency in his tone propelled her back to the present. But she was torn. Every instinct told her to flee, yet something deeper, ancient, and insistent nudged her toward the light. Mom. Liam's voice trembled. What if it's the ranger? What if he is hurt? A desperate plea hung between them, a fragile thread in the chaos. Jennifer opened her mouth to reply, but the whispers crescendoed into a cacophony, each syllable wrapping around her mind. They were her thoughts now, twisting and contorting, fueling doubt and the allure of the fire. Listen. Tom shouted, snapping her back. The river. We can make it if we move now. Without thinking, she nodded and turned away from the campfire's pull. But her feet felt glued, anchored in place, as if the very earth sought to consume them. She forced herself to break the hold, her heartbeat echoing in her ears as she stumbled back, dragging Liam with her. Don't look back. Tom commanded, his hand gripped tightly around her wrist as he began to move, a mixture of urgency and fear infused in his body. They pushed deeper into the forest's darkness, branches scratching at their clothes like skeletal fingers searching for something alive. The whispers morphed into voices, shaping words she couldn't decipher but could feel clawing through her consciousness. Each step they took magnified the heavy tension binding them together. Suddenly, a howl sliced through the night, hungry, desperate, primal. It reverberated down her spine, and her body froze momentarily. Liam gasped beside her, and her heart dropped into a chasm of fear. Run! Tom shouted again, breaking the spell that held her captive. They stumbled forward, heart pounding, eyes wide with a mix of terror and determination. Every crunch of leaves beneath their feet seemed to stir something sinister in the shadows, as if whatever hunted them was drawing closer. Mom! Liam gasped. What about the whispers? They want me. No. They don't want you. They want to take us. She could hear the panic in her own voice. Tom shot her a warning glance over his shoulder, the shadows shifting behind them in a foreboding manner. Yet the thrill of escape surged through her veins, battling the terror gripping her heart. The darker the forest became, the more pronounced the whispers became. They seemed to meld with the rustling leaves, promising secrets and safety if only they could just come a little closer. Desperation surged. We're almost there, she whispered, pushing through shadows that felt alive, breathing down her neck. But a crash echoed behind them, the unmistakable sound of something large breaking through trees. Jennifer's breath caught in her throat, and adrenaline pulsed hard enough to cloud her vision. The dark was alive. They had to reach the river, only there could they feel safe, only there could she shield Liam from whatever was chasing them. Suddenly, Tom stumbled, and everything slowed. Jennifer lunged forward, gripping his arm to pull him up, but just as quickly, the shadows twisted around them. A sharp growl rumbled from behind, sending a jolt of pure terror through her core. Dark shapes began to emerge from the abyss behind them, creeping closer with every second they hesitated. Go, go! Tom shouted, scrambling to his feet as the darkness lunged. A chill sliced through the air just behind them, a warning, a promise of despair, and then they found themselves standing at the river's edge, but it shimmered under the moonlight, inviting. As they looked over the rushing water, something in the river stirred, dark and mysterious. Why is it moving like that? Liam whimpered, eyes wide and filled with fear. The growl returned, now hauntingly close, as the shadows began to close in around them. Before her mind could catch up, Jennifer made a choice, darting toward the river. But in the back of her mind, doubt crept in like creeping mist. What if the escape they sought only led to another trap? As they plunged into the water, the shadows swirled closer, and the whispers intensified, echoing her name once again. This time, they sounded almost familiar. What awaited them below the surface? Was the river a refuge, or would it pull them into the very depths of the forest's secrets? One question echoed louder than the rest as the water engulfed them, would this finally end their flight or begin a far darker journey? The icy water swallowed them whole, dragging them down into an abyss that felt alive, thrumming with energy. Jennifer fought against the grip of the current, her limbs moving in frantic gasps of desperation. She could barely see, only the dark shapes of the riverbed beneath them, twisted branches and murky stones swirling around like forgotten memories. "Mom!" Liam's voice pierced through the watery chaos, panic tinged with vulnerability. She felt the weight of his small body next to hers as they struggled together, the cold invading her muscles, numbing her resolve. "Keep swimming. Just keep swimming," she shouted, her breath escaping in bubbles that faded into the depths. She forced herself to drive forward, urging Liam to follow her lead. As they broke the surface, gasping for air, she glanced around, her heart racing in rhythm with the pulse of the dark water. The night air met them, cool and sharp, but the terror remained. Shadows danced along the shoreline, whispering like ghosts that threatened to pull them back. "Where's Tom?" she gasped, her throat raw from the plunge. A panicked glance revealed the shore. Nobody was there. The realization hit hard and cold. She had lost him. "Tom!" she cried, but her voice was swallowed by the river's roar. Her heart sank deeper than the water as she scanned the shadows. Had they been separated in the chaos? What had happened to the man who kept her fear at bay? "We have to go back," Liam whimpered, tugging at her arm. "We can't leave him." "No," she snapped, though her heart clenched at the distress in his voice. The whispers grew louder around her, forming a haunting chorus that slithered into her thoughts. They were drawing her in, speaking of safety, offering promises as if they could soothe her frayed nerves. But the river surged with something unholy, a powerful force beneath the surface that beckoned with dark allure. She felt it lurking just below them, an unseen presence that shivered through the water like a warning. "Mom, please." Liam's eyes were wide, filled with tears that sparkled in the moonlight. He was so scared, so small. She couldn't let him down. Clenching her teeth, Jennifer steadied her voice, forcing warmth into her words. "We need to keep moving. Tom can handle himself. He'll find us." She hoped there was truth in her lie, refusing to let despair win. Shifting her grip on Liam, they started to swim toward the far bank. The darker waters seemed to pull at their ankles, tendrils of the unseen creeping closer, whispering her name, calling her with a dreadful familiarity. As they neared the opposite shore, she spotted movement in the water, a monstrous silhouette gliding beneath the surface, eyes glowing like twin lanterns in the dark depths. A surge of adrenaline jolted through her body, provoking a primal instinct to survive. "Faster, Liam!" She began to panic, urgency driving her strokes now, her breath quickening. The shape shifted, circling beneath them like a predator assessing its prey. She could feel whatever it was, waiting. "Why won't it stop?" Liam cried, his little voice wavering with fear. Jennifer's chest tightened. "I don't know." She cast a glance over her shoulder. The shadows had grown thicker, pulsating, teasing. They were alive with meaning she couldn't bear to decipher. Just when she thought they had reached the shore, the water surged violently, pulling them both under again. Dark hands, cold and relentless, wrapped around her legs, dragging her deeper. "No!" she screamed, desperation clawing at her throat. She fought against the currents, thrashing wildly, but the shadows gripped her tighter, the whispers becoming deafening, each one echoing a word she recognized. Jennifer. A flash of memory darted through her mind, her mother's voice when she was just a child, lulling her to sleep. The dark promise of safety once again, wrapping around her like a familiar blanket. "No!" she shouted, summoning the resolve to break free. With one determined surge, she broke the surface, gasping for air, but the shapes were still there, flickers of movement weaving in and out of the edges of her vision. Suddenly, she heard a howl so close it felt like a knife against her skin. It was Tom, a sound of pain, mingling with anger, echoing across the water. "Tom!" She felt the very fabric of her being tear. She had to go back. But the water roiled beneath her, a sinister laughter hidden among the whispers. It would not let her leave, not now, not ever. In that moment, as the shadows conspired to pull her back, Jennifer realized the alarming truth: whatever was haunting the forest was now in the water and their fate was intertwined. Who would emerge from the depths, friend, or foe? Time was running out. The cold clung to her like a second skin, weighing Jennifer down as she fought to reach the surface again. She gasped for air, heart pounding fiercely against her ribcage, the desperate sound of her breath mingling with the frigid water. Liam's tiny hand gripped hers, shaking, his eyes wide with terror as they bobbed on the surface. "Mom, what is happening?" His voice was barely a whisper, lost amidst the swirling darkness. She could see the shore, but it felt impossibly far. "Just a little further," she urged, reluctance heavy on her heart. But the water, alive and sentient, thrashed violently around them, pulling at her legs like creatures hungry for prey. She had to fight. Not just for herself, but for Liam. "Keep holding on," she yelled, trying to infuse confidence into her tone as they moved, stroke by stroke, toward the ghostly outline of the bank. But with each stroke, the grip of the river tightened, determined to keep them in its grasp. Then, a horrifying splash erupted just behind them. Jennifer's heart dropped. The silhouette was back, darting through the black water. Faster than before, it circled them, jaws poised to snap. "That thing is hunting us," she shouted, panic shooting through her veins. Muscles trembling from both terror and exhaustion, she tugged Liam closer, gripping him tightly as fear took roots in her stomach. Her instincts screamed that they were both in grave danger. A deep growl rumbled from the abyss, the predator's displeasure reverberating through the water. Jennifer's heart raced. Whatever it was wanted them, and it was getting restless. "Look!" Liam pointed, his voice flickering with a mix of hope and fear. There was a narrow strip of light on the shore, beckoning them like a lifeline. She nodded, determination blazing within her. "Swim!" she cried, her voice firm despite the dread bubbling inside her. Together, they kicked against the waves, fighting the oppressive pull from below. But with each push forward, that menacing shape came closer, eyes glinting with hunger. Suddenly, she heard a bone-chilling scream echoing from the water. It was Tom. The terror in his voice wrapped tightly around her, constricting her lungs. "Help! Please! Tom!" Her voice cracked with desperation. She glanced back, fighting the urge to go to him. But there was no time. If she didn't reach the shore, it would be them next. "No! We have to help him!" Liam cried, his small body trembling like a leaf in a storm. The shadows behind them surged forward, angered by their reluctance to succumb to the darkness. "Liam, we can't!" Jennifer's voice shook, the words tearing from her throat like broken glass. They had no choice. She wouldn't let her son fall into this nightmare. No matter what the darkness promised, bursts of cold energy shot around them, and something brushed against Jennifer's arm, something slick and many-fingered. She couldn't stop herself from shrieking. The water was alive and eager to claim them. They reached the shore, clawing desperately at the wet ground, mud slipping beneath their hands. "Not yet!" she cried, heaving her body forward as that horrific howl pierced the night a second time, more anguished, more primal. Tom was fighting, and every shred of Jennifer's being wanted to turn back, but the moment they reached the safety of the bank, she dragged Liam up, scrambling to the safety of the trees. "Stay low!" she whispered urgently, scanning the water as it churned menacingly. A dark shadow broke the surface, eyes flashing before vanishing once more. "Will it follow us?" Liam's voice was small, steeped in fear. "I don't know." Her heart pounded in her chest, a steady drumbeat of terror. A rustle in the underbrush nearby sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. Was it the creature from the river? Had it decided to move to land? Then came the frantic sloshing behind them, something or someone emerging from the depths. "Help! It was Tom's voice, but twisted. Full of pain. Jennifer froze, the weight of indecision crushing her. "Mom, we can't leave him." The cries were drawn out, a horrific melody of anguish wrapped in darkness. The trees stood sentinel, witnessing the wrestle between courage and despair. Could they afford to turn back? What kind of monster had they unleashed? Before she could answer, shadows loomed, thickening around them like a storm, feeling eyes upon them. Jennifer's heart raced, the horrifying thought taking root, they weren't alone. And as the whispers returned, hinting promises of safety and betrayal, Jennifer shivered. Whatever was lurking was about to reveal itself, and they would learn that night just how intertwined survival and darkness could become. But one question lingered, cold and heavy in the air: what else awaited them in those depths? The darkness closed in around them, dense and stifling. Jennifer could feel the weight of the night pressing against her, suffocating her thoughts. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, whispering secrets, but their rustling did little to calm her racing heart. Liam's grip on her hand remained firm, a beacon of warmth against the chilling fear creeping within her. "Mom," his voice barely broke the silence, trembling like a fragile thing ready to shatter. "Shush," she hissed, raising her head. The water rippled, a deceptive calm before the storm. She could still hear Tom's cries echoing in her mind, twisting and turning like waterlogged branches in the flow. Should they go back? She weighed the choice heavily, her pulse matching the thrum of the river behind them. Suddenly, a movement caught her eye, a figure stumbling out of the water. It was Tom, soaked and pallid. His eyes were wild, searching, but something about him wasn't right. Jennifer felt an icy dread freeze her blood. "Tom!" Liam squeaked, his wide eyes reflecting the moonlight. "Look! Stay back!" she cried instinctively as Tom lurched forward. His face twisted in agony, it was like watching a marionette, strings tangled. He seemed lost, trapped between two worlds. "Help me, I can't," he wheezed, each word a struggle. Dark tendrils dripped from his skin, slick and glistening under the starlight. He reached out a trembling hand, but the shadows clung to him, pulling him back toward the darkness of the river with a sinister allure. "Please!" The anguish in his voice stopped Jennifer cold, a fork in the road. Fight or flight? Her maternal instincts clashed with her survival instincts. What was he becoming? "Mom, we have to help him," Liam urged, clutching at her sleeve. Innocence laced with determination. "No. It's a trap." She spat, eyes locked on Tom's distorted face. She felt the primal urge to flee wash over her. The shadows swirled, shifting against her will, revealing haunting silhouettes that danced at the edges of her vision. "Help me," he begged again, voice hauntingly familiar yet twisted by something dark and foreign. Another howl broke through the night, a challenge thrown down. It rippled through the darkness, promising that whatever lurked beneath the water was only a harbinger of worse things to come. "Mom!" Liam's voice trembled now, cracking under the weight of fear as he backed away from Tom's ghostly presence. What if he's not him anymore? Heart racing, dread coiling tighter within her, Jennifer felt her choice slip away. The air was thickening, suffocating. Behind them, the underbrush rustled anew, a reminder that the night held many secrets, many things hungry for flesh. Before she could react, the bloated mass of slick, dark water creatures surged forth from the river, dozens of eyeless forms writhing and crashing against one another, drawn by the cries. They were flailing, dark oozing bodies shifting through the air like shadows. Jennifer grabbed Liam, yanking him back just in time. "No!" Tom wailed. It was bone-chilling, twisted into a pitch that made Jennifer's arm hair stand on end. "Help me! I can't stay here, run!" Jennifer screamed, her voice cracking. She turned, the urgent need to escape igniting every nerve in her body. The branches scratched her, snarling at them as they retreated. The earth beneath was slick with mud, promising to swallow them whole, but as they stumbled back, the ground felt alive, almost as if it were reaching out with hands made of darkness, desperately trying to prevent them from escaping. The oppressive weight of the forest surged, thick with dread. Every breath tasted like panic, every heartbeat rang like a bell of horror. Ahead, the trees began to part slightly, a sliver of moonlight breaking through to illuminate a path. But behind them, the water churned violently. Tom's shadow flickered, caught between their world and something far more sinister. "Mom!" Liam cried, pointing behind them. Jennifer turned, the anger in her chest morphing into pure terror. The river churned, the grotesque forms emerging, relentless in their pursuit. "Don't look back. Keep moving," she barked, dragging Liam as she sprinted down the narrow path, dancing on the edge of hope and despair. Threads of darkness lashed out, pulling and grasping. They couldn't stop, couldn't turn, and the night wrapped around them with clawed fingers, whispering sinister promises of what lay ahead. With every ounce of her strength, Jennifer faced the dark, the fear chasing their every step. But amid the chaos, she could still hear Tom's mournful cries piercing her heart, echoing in her mind like an unforgiving drum. What had happened to him? What truths lay buried beneath that twisted surface? And as they fled deeper into the night, the heavy question loomed: would escape truly reunite them with safety, or would it spiral into an even darker fate? The path narrowed, branches clawing at Jennifer and Liam as they stumbled forward, gasping for breath. Terror clawed at Jennifer's mind like a wild animal, every thought consumed by the chase behind them. The shadows whispered, wrapping tighter around their ankles, threatening to drag them back into the grip of the night. "Mom, look out!" Liam shouted, pointing ahead. A gnarled root struck like a serpent, sending Jennifer sprawling. She barely caught herself, her hands sinking into the damp earth. Panic surged, she had to get up, had to keep moving. "Liam, go. Don't wait for me." She struggled to stand, her legs quivering under the weight of fear and exhaustion. "No. I'm not leaving you," Liam yelled, his voice cracking. He reached for her. "Just run," she shouted, but instinct pulled him closer instead. The trees around them began to pulse, shadows thickening, creeping with intent. Tom's cries cascaded around them like a dreadful melody. "Help me. It's dark, I can't," they echoed with a mournful tone that sent a shudder down Jennifer's spine. Was it really him? The mass of creatures surged from the river, their grotesque bodies gleaming in the eerie moonlight. They glided toward her like a tide of sin, mindless and relentless. With newfound adrenaline, Jennifer seized Liam's hand, pulling him with her as they shot down the path. Each step felt like a race against the weight of despair, the dark figures clawing and scrabbling at their heels. "No, no," Liam whimpered, urgency crackling in the air. Jennifer dared a fleeting glance back, and the sight clawed at her heart. Tom, or whatever he had become, was engulfed in the black tendrils. His screams morphed into something unfathomable, warping reality with a deep, horror-laden resonance. "Mom, what if he gets us?" Liam cried, wide eyes reflecting pure terror. She bit down on her fear, drawing strength from her son. "We won't let that happen. We will get out." The path rose steeply ahead, an incline into the heart of the oppressive wood. Gnarled trees loomed overhead, their twisted limbs resembling skeletal hands, clawing at the sky. She could barely keep her footing, each step felt like treading through soup, heavy and unyielding. But they couldn't stop. A howl ripped through the air again, this time closer, more terrifying. Shadows flickered around them. "Mom, I can't breathe." Liam gasped, choking on panic. "I know, baby. Just keep going," she urged, the words scraping her throat raw. As they approached a clearing, moonlight broke through the canopy, illuminating a haunting scene. A circle of ancient stones stood like silent sentinels, each marked by symbols she couldn't comprehend. A palpable dread filled the air, thick as fog. The den of horrors lay just beyond the light, pulsating with what felt like hungry eyes. "Do you think they'll stop if we make it to the stones?" Liam's voice trembled, a fragile thread of hope woven in with fear. Jennifer hesitated. The shadowy forms erupted into the clearing, pouring forth like the river behind them. "Help me!" Tom's cry echoed again, only to be swallowed by the darkness. There was no time for uncertainty. Jennifer squeezed Liam's hand tighter, urging them forward. Was this some kind of barrier? Could they reach safety in time? The ground rumbled beneath them as more creatures thronged forward. The symbols carved in the stones began to glow, a dim light radiating toward the encroaching blackness. In that moment, Jennifer felt the air shift, thick with an unseen force. It beckoned them closer, promising refuge yet fraught with danger. Liam fumbled in his pocket. "I found this, look. It's glowing." A small, bright stone shimmered in his palm, casting an unexpected light against the shadows. Jennifer's heart raced anew. "I don't know what it is, but we need to use it." They sprinted for the stones, but the ground trembled, resisting their every step. A deep, growling rumble seemed to emanate from beneath, making her hair stand on end. "Mom!" Liam yelped, nearly falling as the tremor intensified. "Hold on." At that moment, the ground erupted ahead, sending dirt and roots spiraling into the air. A gaping hole opened up, dark and unyielding, as the branches creaked ominously. The creature's dark forms surged, weaving through the chaos, their intentions far more malevolent. Jennifer felt a surge of instinctual terror as the howls grew louder, drowning out even her racing thoughts. She pulled Liam closer. "Whatever happens, we face it together." But would it be enough? As they neared the stones, the darkness rushed in, ready to consume everything, and just as they reached the edge of the ancient boundary, the wind howled, laughter echoing through the trees, a malevolent chuckle that promised something more frightening lay in wait just beyond the veil. The moment they crossed the threshold of the ancient stones, the world around them shifted. The air thickened, pressing down on them like the weight of 1,000 eyes. Shadows retreated slightly, as if held at bay by the stone's glow, but the howls persisted, a relentless cacophony that gnawed at Jennifer's composure. "Is this safe?" Liam whispered, his voice trembling more than she'd ever heard. Before she could answer, the sinister laughter echoed again, closer this time, wrapping around them like a noose. An icy dread seeped into her bones as she scanned their surroundings. The stones seemed to hum beneath her touch, a tremor that reverberated in her chest. "We have to do something," she said, urgency punctuating her voice. The glowing stone in Liam's hand pulsed, a heartbeat of its own. "What if it protects us?" The creatures paused at the perimeter of the stones, hissing and writhing as shadows danced like flames. Their gnarled faces twisted into malevolent grins, elongated jaws snapping as if tasting the air around them. "What is it?" Liam gasped, inspecting the stone. It shimmered brighter, a soft warmth radiating toward the encroaching darkness. "I don't know. But it has to mean something," Jennifer replied, panic clawing at her throat. She pressed her palm against the stone circle's surface. It wasn't just a barrier, it felt alive. Everything inside her screamed to run, but the dread behind them held her frozen. With a sudden resolve, she lifted the glowing stone high. "Get back!" she shouted, her voice a mix of defiance and fear. "We are not afraid of you." The creatures recoiled, their wailing reaching a fever pitch. It sounded almost like a chorus of lost souls, each cry slicing through the night, layered with years of despair. The heavier shadows writhed, shifting as if torn between a compelling force and the hunger that drove them. "Mom!" Liam cried, his face pale. He tugged hard at her sleeve, eyes wide as the shadows inched closer despite the stone's light. "What if they don't stop?" The pulsing light flickered as if answering his fear. It made Jennifer's heart race. She could feel an ancient energy coursing from the stones, but it was unstable, a power teetering on the edge. "We can't stop believing," she urged, gripping his hand tighter. "The moment we doubt, we lose." A loud roar pierced the surrounding chaos, a sound that seemed to break the very air. The earth shuddered violently, and the circle of stones trembled beneath them. A deep chasm opened up within the clearing, swallowing light into an endless abyss. The laughter echoed from the depths, reverberating through their bones, a mocking sense of triumph. "Stand firm!" she yelled, fear pushing her voice past the threshold of rationality. The glowing stone in Liam's hand blazed to life, casting a warm glow that enveloped them both. The creatures and shadows hesitated, but they swarmed with renewed fervor as if the darkness itself rallied for one final attack. Jennifer felt the energy pulsing from the stones grow stronger, and in a desperate bid, she risked her focus and hurled Liam's stone toward the darkness. "Where are you?" she yelled, fully aware of how futile her words might sound. She pivoted, her heart hammering as the stone flew, colliding with a spectral figure that stepped from the shadows. The moment it hit, a blast of blinding light erupted. The ground beneath them trembled even more violently. Yet there was something unexpected. A rift opened where darkness fought to reclaim the light, revealing a shimmering portal, swirling with forgotten dreams. "Mom." Liam's voice quivered again, uncertain. "Get ready," she shouted, instinctively pulling him closer as the shadows recoiled, shrieking in frustration. "It's our only chance." And then, a familiar voice echoed through the chaos, Tom, resonating from beyond the light, calling for them once more. "Help me." Jennifer's heart dropped, torn between hope and the foreboding tension that gnawed at her stomach. But out of the depths of their past, what awaited them? Would they be able to reach Tom and escape the dark hunger forever lurking behind? Or would they be drawn deeper into the shadows that had claimed so many before them? As they stood on the precipice of the unknown, engulfed by the swirling light and darkness, all she could do was hold her breath and step forward into the abyss. As they crossed the threshold of the swirling portal, the world around them morphed from despair to something vivid, something alive. The dark shadows that had chased them receded momentarily, howling in frustration, the luminous rift pulsing with the light of a million memories. Jennifer gasped, the air thick with energy, the promise of safety hovering just beyond their reach. "Mom, what is happening?" Liam's voice trembled, his tiny hand clenching hers with fierce determination. "Whatever lies ahead, Liam, we face it together," she promised, drawing strength from Jennifer's light flickering in her chest. The flames of hope surged within her, urging them onward. With a final push, they leaped into the rift, falling into brilliance. For a split second, everything stopped. The universe felt vast and infinite. Whispers echoed, familiar yet ethereal, carrying fragments of the past with them. Memories of laughter, warmth, and family enveloped them, swaddling them in an embrace that chased away fear. Then, with a resounding rush, they landed on the soft earth of a hillside. Jennifer blinked against the blinding light and found herself in a serene meadow, draped in golds and greens beneath a crystalline sky. It was almost too beautiful, too peaceful. The heaviness of the forest, of loss and darkness, faded like a distant memory. "Is it gone?" Liam looked around the meadow, eyes wide and glimmering. But before Jennifer could respond, they heard a familiar voice. "Jennifer." "Liam." It was Tom, standing at the edge of the meadow, eyes filled with relief as if he'd been waiting for them. "You made it." "Tom." Jennifer ran to him, disbelief washing over her. The twisted darkness that had pursued them seemed to vanish beneath the light of the meadow. "We thought we lost you." Rubbing his arms, he approached with an unsteady gait but a smile that fought against the shadows. "You have no idea how good it feels to be free from that grip. It was like swimming through the anguish. You saved me, both of you." "What happened?" Jennifer asked, concern weaving through her voice. Tom took a deep breath, glancing back towards the edges of the meadow, where the shadows still whispered. "I was trapped in the in-between, the tug of that river was haunting. But a flicker of hope, your light called me back. I fought through the darkness using both our intentions." The words settled in her heart like a bomb. They had been more than mere prey to the shadows, they had a purpose. "The stone." Liam interrupted, his face lit with a moment of realization. It saved us. Yes, Tom agreed, grinning down at the radiant gem still shimmering in Liam's hand. This place is a refuge created from light, but we must remember that darkness lingers just beyond. As they shared their moment of relief, their connection grounded them. But shadows were not banished completely. We need to make sure it stays away, Jennifer asserted, glancing uneasily toward the woods that still loomed in the distance. We can't let it take anyone else. Tom nodded, understanding etched into his features. If we gather others, we can build a barrier feed the light that this place brings. An ember of hope ignited within Jennifer, wanting to shield others from the roaring darkness. They turned toward the meadow's edge, feeling the warmth of the sun washing over them. Then let us make sure we find everyone lost, Jennifer declared, her heart swelling with purpose. We'll make sure this darkness never claims another soul. Together, hand in hand, they ventured back toward the edge of the forest, Liam sandwiched between his mother and Tom. But as they reached it, a rustling whispered against the tall grass someone was calling. Jennifer's heart raced as she discovered an outline through the trees. Shadows began to gather, faces once sorrowful now stirring with hope. Is it truly over? Came a voice from the gathering crowd. Yes. We're here. We will keep the darkness at bay. Jennifer responded, her voice ringing with resolve. And as they stepped forward, hearts intertwined with courage, the shadows began to retreat, banished by the light of the community forming. The meadow glowed brighter, vibrant life and healing intertwined, echoing against the far reaches of despair. As the sun rose, illuminating the faces around them, Jennifer felt the warmth of newfound hope. Together, they would guard this sacred space. Their legacy would be light against the dark, a testament to resilience. We will build our circle strong, she murmured, a promise born of love as the echoes of the past faded into the dawn. Their family was whole again, and despite what lurked in the shadows, light would always triumph over darkness. Their story would continue, hand in hand, shining brighter than ever, a reminder of the fight against despair and the triumph of hope. Now that this conclusion of their journey is clear, here's your chance to show your support. You need to subscribe now, so you never miss exclusive stories like this. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep us going. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Let us know what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, let us light up this channel.